Welcome to this segment of Profiles of a Caring Community. My name is Craig Turner, Director of the Department of Youth and Social Services for the town of Wallingford, and we're joined today with two individuals from the First Congregational Church, Lorraine Westervelt and Connor Filkins, and they are co-chairing a very interesting initiative that's coming to Wallingford next year. So thank you for coming.
Thanks for having us.
The name of this initiative is the Wallingford Workcamp 2018. And for our viewing audience, I'd just like to get a little background information of what this is and then talk a little bit about your previous experience to give them a flavor for it.
Sure. Lorraine, you want to take that?
So Wallingford Workcamp is going to be home repairs done in the Wallingford area. We're currently looking for 60 homes to work on all in 1 week, July 9th through 14th next summer. And the homes that we're working on are either low income, elderly, or disabled, not all three, just any one of those. And we're going to be doing very specific kinds of home repairs, interior painting, exterior painting, porch reconstruction, porch painting, handicap ramps, roofing but not tearing off. So there's categories of work that we're doing, and the way it works is that we're bringing in 400 youth and adult from around the country who are going to be doing the volunteer work on these homes. The homeowners don't pay anything. They just are nice enough to let us work on their house for that week.
That's great.
And it's really exciting.
So that's an ambitious project, just the sheer numbers in and of itself. So where will this group of volunteer workers be while they're here?
They're going to be housed at Sheehan High School. The town was gracious enough to open that space up to us to let us use to host the volunteers, let them sleep there, let them eat there, and let them do their evening gatherings there as well.
That's great. Yeah. That really is a profile of a caring community. That's tremendous. So
the other part about Sheehan High School is that the way the workers are going to be helpful to the town of Wallingford is that it's going to be an emergency preparedness drill. The emergency preparedness department wants to simulate having 400 displaced residents staying in Sheehan High School, and our volunteers are going to be those people.
What a great training ground.
Yeah.
That's great. So I learned from you just recently that between the two of you, you have 18 combined years of doing this work in the past in various places in the country. So what does that look like when you actually are out there? What was that experience like?
It was life-changing for me. I first went when I was a freshman in high school. The weeks leading up to it, it was my first mission experience ever. And the weeks leading up to it, I was honestly kind of dreading it because it's a week of my summer that I could be playing with friends, but day one, you're just hit with this euphoric feeling of you're in a different place you've never been to before, helping people that really can use the help and really deserve the help. And that's just a really great feeling to be a part of.
So the 500 people who are coming to help are from all over the country or specific areas?
They could be from any place. We've traveled as far as New Mexico, Michigan, New York, New Jersey, New Hampshire. So we've traveled. Sometimes we go close by and sometimes far away. Our church has gone 10 times.
Wow.
Last year we were in West Virginia, and the year before we were in New York.
So talk a little bit about how the people whose homes that you're repairing and refurbishing, how they respond to this act of kindness.
It's amazing to see. Many of them, there's such a diverse population that we're working for. Some, low-income families that are just so welcoming of the help, and then some elderly folk who this is maybe their human contact for the month. They're shut in. They don't get a lot of people visiting, and it's kind of them opening their doors to a really warm and life-changing experience for them. And it's such a great thing to see them open their homes up to us. And it really, I've seen a lot of stereotypes get broken down. They kind of have this mindset going in sometimes that, teenagers are just kind of aloof and don't really care about, things going on in life. And then 5 teenagers come walking in and they just destroy that stereotype.
So one of the issues that was in reviewing the material that I was curious about was people are giving you basically permission to fix their home and make it look better, but a large number of the workers are teenagers. So I would think that there's got to be a hesitation or concern about the quality of the work or the attention that's being paid to detail on that. How is that addressed in the process?
The residents know up front that it's being done by volunteers, and that the volunteers will have limited skill set, that they're not trained tradesmen coming in. Each crew is made up of people that have the skills needed for that particular job. So if it's a construction job, there's going to be somebody on that crew that knows something about construction. And if it's a painting job, there'll be at least one person that knows a lot about painting. Then Group Work Camp provides site coaches that go around to the sites, maybe 6 or 8 sites, and those people will help oversee. So if the crew runs into trouble, they have somebody to ask questions of.
And these site coaches, they're former tradesmen, so they have experience. Group does background checks on them, makes sure that their skill levels are up to the task of being able to guide volunteer labor along and make sure it's up to good standards.
Okay.
The site coaches are volunteers also.
Okay. So I'm assuming it's an application process for someone that's interested. Is there a review of the actual site of the home or the location where the work's being done to make sure that it's appropriate for the level of
Right.
workers that you have?
When homeowners let us know that they would like us to consider them, they can either do that online at the Wallingford Workcamp website, or they can do it on a paper application. We've been trying to get those out all over town. But once they let themselves be known as somebody, then they get a phone call where we just check to see if they're really elderly, disabled, low income, if they fall into one of those categories. If the work that they're asking for is the kind of work that we're able to do. If they're willing to have 5 youth and 1 adult come into their home and use their bathroom during the week, very basic things. And if all that seems to work out fine on the phone interview, then we have people that go out and do preliminary site visits to make sure that it's a safe environment for the kids to work in and the work is not too much for the kids to do.
That's great.
Then we have another site visit where we have construction type people go out and do measurements and figure out exactly the materials that are going to be needed, because all the materials are there Monday morning for the people to start working.
At each individual
At
site?
each individual site.
Wow. That's quite an orchestration of events there. So where does the funding come for this project, the materials and...
Generous donations. We've been doing a lot of fundraising over the last few months. We're aiming to raise $25,000 to cover the cost of all the building materials for the 60 homes we're aiming to work on.
Okay. So 25,000.
Yeah.
That's a big chunk of change.
So we need to raise it by the end of March so that we know we have the money so we can start making the plans for buying things and everything.
Okay.
So we have some events coming up. In January, we're going to be doing some painting nights and Splat Studios helping us with that. We're going to have a pizza war night, and we're going to have a wine and chocolate social.
Very nice.
We're looking also to organizations to help run fundraising events for us, or to get grants, foundations and local businesses. When businesses hear about it, they are very supportive, and so we've gotten quite a few donations from local businesses.
That's great. So you mentioned a website. Do you have that? Do you know that information for the website, or can we get that from you?
Yeah,
Yes.
It's Wallingford Workcamp.
It's usually one of the first hits on Google.
Okay.
We also have a Facebook page, the Wallingford Workcamp team, where you can find the links to that. We post that almost daily. Pictures of like before and after. Some of the things that you can find on here, you can find on that as well.
And if someone were interested in donating or getting involved in your fundraising activities, is there a number that they should try to call?
There's information right on there.
On the website.
There's a contact me section that they can let us know.
That's great.
And there's a donation. We do have a GoFundMe page if people want to donate that way, or they can send a check to the church and donate that way.
So how do you pick the kids?
Well, group mission trips actually recruits youth groups from around the country. That's a specialty that they've been doing for 40 years now, is organizing, helping local communities like us organize mission trips around the country. So they have a youth group base that, youth groups jump at the bit to, sign up for their mission trip every summer, and that's how they recruit.
In our own church, the first mission trip, there were like 12 that went. And then the next year, there were more and more and more. And so we got up to 35 kids from Wallingford going to another place to do the work. And the way that they're selected is they self-select. They say they want to do it. They raise the required amount of money, because each student that goes has to pay for their own way, their transportation, their lodging, some of the material cost. So it's pricey for the kid to come and work all week.
That's a real sacrifice.
So they're not just not getting paid, they're paying to go.
Right.
And so it's really exciting. So this year we have 30 kids that are going to be part of this work camp. And even though it's right here in Wallingford, they're still raising the money for them to attend.
Wow. This is the first time it's come to Wallingford, though, correct?
Yes.
How did you decide to do that?
Well, when I served with group for a summer in 2015, that was my first year on staff with them. And after seeing the inner workings of the system, I was just like, we can do this. We can definitely do this. And so I came home that August and just started talking about it, getting the ball rolling, presented the idea to our church council, and they approved it. And it was slow getting off the ground, but we're in full swing now.
Wow, that's terrific.
Yeah.
It was something when we were out someplace, we would say, wouldn't it be great to do this in Wallingford?
Yeah.
But it wasn't until Connor started really getting the ball rolling that we got the initiative going.
Wow. So in our second half of the show, we're going to talk a little bit about the application process. But is there an anecdotal story that you want to share of your own experience at this point in terms of what you...
Well, you were talking about how it affected the residents. When I was in Middletown, Ohio, we were painting the outside of a house, and it was in really bad shape, and we were doing this painting project. We started Monday morning. Tuesday afternoon, the resident said something about her daughter. And we were like, daughter, how old is she? And we, asked questions. Well, she was 13, but she was a recluse. She hadn't been out of the house in months. And she was inside the house, but she wasn't going anyplace. She was outside helping us paint by Thursday.
Wow,
Yeah.
That's exciting.
It was very exciting.
That's great. So I can't wait to talk about the application process and learn if it's for Wallingford or other folk or whomever. And we'll return shortly. Welcome back to Profiles of a Caring Community. We're continuing our discussion about the Wallingford Workcamp coming up in July of 2018, which is a mission sponsored by and coordinated by the First Congregational Church in Wallingford. Thanks again for coming, Lorraine and Connor. So let's talk about the youth side of this, because being a youth and social service guy, I'm really intrigued by the amount of work, literally speaking, that these youth have to do even before the camp opens. Talk a little bit about what they have chosen to do, particularly for this group in terms of the fundraising and their level of commitment that makes this thing happen.
It's really a year-round commitment, because even from the second you get back from your last mission trip, you're already planning for next summer, setting up fundraising opportunities, whether it's dinners or cookie sales, stuff like that. It's really a year-round commitment. And we also, especially at our church, we try and get the youth group to start bonding before we even get on that trip. So
And these are all high school age students? Or
Yep.
is it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, they have to finish 8th grade.
Okay.
And they can continue to go until they're 21. So
Great.
it can be some college-age students.
So we were talking earlier about the kind of figures, dollar figures that these kids have to come up with for themselves as well as for the program. Do you want to
So,
talk about that?
The fee that we pay to Group Workcamp is $465
Per child.
per child. That's what they're paying to go to the camp. And then you have to pay for transportation or whatever. We usually rent 12-passenger vans if we're traveling a distance, and there's gas costs and meal costs and that kind of thing. So each child has to raise a chunk of money, and together it works out to about $25,000
Wow.
for the youth, for about 30 youth to go.
That's substantial.
Yeah.
And the youth pretty much raise that money on their own for the most part?
Yeah, they were, had a fundraiser at Panera's a few weeks ago, and they just sold butter braids. So they do some selling, that kind of thing. And then they also send letters to family and friends and ask for donations. But each year it happens. It's mostly supported by our congregation and families and friends of the youth.
That's great. So talk about the nuts and bolts a little bit. Is this service or this mission targeted specifically for Wallingford homes and elderly and disabled folk, low income, or are you reaching beyond the borders of Wallingford for this?
Yeah, we're definitely reaching beyond Wallingford. Our criteria is that it's got to be within a 30-minute drive of Sheehan High School.
Okay.
So we're looking into North Haven and Meriden. So yeah.
Okay. Wow.
We-
That's ambitious.
We sent the applications out through the schools in Wallingford and Meriden. We've been in touch with social services in the towns, contacting the veterans group, the home health care groups, anybody that might come in contact with people that that would be involved. Our church is the church that hosts the community supper. So this Thursday at the community supper, we're going to be handing out applications because some of those people might know somebody or might be somebody that can.
Right. And for those that just joined us, so it's low income, elderly or disabled. Now they have to be the homeowners, the property
Yes,
owners.
they have to be the
Okay.
yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And so in terms of, so we're talking about a caring community and this issue of reaching into people's lives. Can you talk a little bit about some of the unintended, perhaps, consequences that have affected the communities that you've been in doing this work and how that might happen here?
Yeah. So I personally served a woman named Donna. We were putting skirting on her trailer home. And as the week began, we kind of found out that she didn't have a really great relationship with her neighbors for whatever reason. And they had been at odds for a long time. And there was one day, so we were like trying to keep out of their yard, make sure we weren't aggravating anything. And they came out one day and they were asking, what are you guys doing? And we told them we're here fixing up Miss Donna's trailer for her. And we invited them to have lunch with us and Donna. And they sat down and kind of had a moment of healing between the two of them. They really came together, and by the end of the week, it was just such a dramatic transformation. They were joking around, talking like they had been old friends. So it was like we were there to put skirting on her trailer, but we also mended relationships completely unintentionally. That was really cool for me.
The power of kindness.
Yeah,
It's amazing.
absolutely.
That's a great story. Can you think of one in particular for you?
I was thinking of something here in Wallingford because we've already begun getting applications and we've begun visiting. And we went to a mobile home park because somebody wanted their deck worked on. And we looked at it, and it wasn't going to be enough work because the kids work for 4.5 days. They work full days, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and a half day Wednesday. And so we're looking at this deck saying, this is great, we can paint this and everything, but it's not going to be enough. So I called the resident up and I said, can you ask around the neighborhood, see if you can find somebody else that qualifies that needs some work done on their deck, and we can make a double place and have that be one site. The excitement in this person's voice, that I wasn't calling to say no, I was calling to ask her to see if she could find some more work, was it's just so exciting to go out and visit.
How has that process been in town of just recruiting homes and, potential sites?
We have 32 applicants so far, and they say we need about 100 in order to find 60 sites that are going to be doable.
Okay.
And so we've gotten them online, and we've gotten them on paper, and we've faxed in and everything.
So in your experience, is there specific information we want to get out to people so that they can understand that they may be eligible for this, and any barriers that have happened in the past that we can overcome by talking about those right now so that people who may be interested that haven't reached out can?
I think people just need to understand that they only have to be one of those things. They can just be elderly. They don't have to be elderly and low income.
Okay. That's an important distinction.
And their home just has to be in need of work, so that it can't be a home that's in good repair. And that just happens to people. Things just deteriorate over time. So if you think you might be qualified, you should apply.
Right. Yeah. And I like that notion that if they don't have enough work, you can pair them up, as it were, in terms of the youth group or the work group, to do more than one project.
Right. And that's not been typically done. It's usually one project, and what you do is that when you get to the site and you're looking at what they want done, you say, can we also paint your dining room? When we
Right.
find additional work at that particular site.
So to that end, I know you brought the poster board, but can you go over, by topic, the typical types of work that get done?
Yes, so we do, one of our most popular projects at Group is interior and exterior painting. We've painted giant 3-story houses before, and then, just down to somebody's kitchen. We do a lot of painting. Another popular project is having porches constructed and wheelchair ramps as well.
Yeah.
A lot of the missions in the communities is making homes accessible and livable for these people. And, some freeing them from being stuck in their homes for 2-3 years at a time.
Yeah.
And there are sometimes we'll do roofing. We can't tear off the roofs because that's more of a difficult project. But we do roofing and then various small weatherization projects as well.
Wow. That's a fantastic concept.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
It's really exciting to be part of it. When I heard about it, my kids were too young to go on the mission trip, but I wanted to go right away. And I actually went by myself without my own kids going for a couple of years, and then my kids got old enough and they got to go too.
Which that's not common really for adults to go without their kids, so that really just shows
Okay.
the heart that this lady's got right
So
here.
it's mostly a family thing, generally speaking?
Sometimes, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It can be.
So
I
I'm
went
curious
with my
about
dad.
that. What compelled you to do that?
It was just the idea of going out and helping people was just incredible, and being on the spot. I'm a teacher, so I like working with youth anyways. So being in the position of working with youth and getting something done, that first year we had to tear the boards off of a porch and put new boards on. And walking up to this house that you can't walk up to because the boards were all rotted, and walking away with it looking great. It's just so exciting, and knowing that happened. And so I heard about it through people that had gone, and it just sounded like something I'd like to spend my time doing.
So I guess I have a couple, that prompts a couple questions. Do you have enough youth from within Wallingford who are participating? Are you looking for more youth that may be interested in doing this? Is that a possibility, or is it kind of a closed system at this point?
Well, the members of our youth group are the people that go, and I think we have 30 members of our youth group that are going. And we've heard that our work camp is actually sold out, so that
Oh, that's awesome.
people from other countries have filled all the other spots. So if there are people in Wallingford that would like to go, there are other camps that they could go to.
Wow. Where would someone go to find information on the work camp issue in general, not just this one, but if they're interested down the road?
They could go to groupmissiontrips.com. They have a whole listing of all of their campsites, their home repair camps, their community service camps, and as well as their international mission trips as well. And kind of that details their 40-year history and what work camps are too.
That's great. Are there any unmet needs or things that you need in terms of preparing or providing for the folks that are going to be staying at Sheehan?
We're looking for groups to help with the hospitality. So like one town we were in, they served pie and ice cream one night after the
That's great.
program. And those kinds of things where you treat the volunteers just with a little extra hospitality are great. So we're looking for groups to do that kind of thing. We're also looking for people to bring popsicles out to the sites.
That's awesome.
You're working in July and somebody shows up with popsicles, you're a happy camper.
It's the best.
So for those of you out there, if you're looking for community service projects over the summer, we have a couple.
Yeah.
Lorraine, and thank you so much for coming. And Connor, thank you for your input, your inspiration, and we look forward to the success of the program.
Thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you for joining us on this version of Profiles in a Caring Community.